A laser engraver in the woodshop. Never even thought about it, not on my radar. Then the folks at Creality offered to send me a unit to put through its paces. Now it was on my radar. I love trying out new tools, but I really didn't see how a laser cutter engraver would help me in the wood shop. Let's see what happens. So I wouldn't go into this totally blind. I did watch some videos on the Creality website on unboxing and setting it up just to be familiar with the parts, because again, this is all totally new to me. All right, what's in the box? We have some documentation. We'll put that aside for now. Here's the frame of the unit, which is pretty much fully assembled, which is great. Don't have to worry about that. Here's the laser itself. This is a 40-watt unit, and I had to ask my friend, is that powerful? And he's like, oh yeah, that's really powerful. This is, I believe, the little air compressor for the air assist feature. I'll go over that later. We have a power cord, power brick. We have some feet for the unit, some sample materials, and a little tiny toolbox here with a SD card, wrenches, tweezers, and a couple of other little accessories. All right, first thing I'm going to do is screw on the feet. They do give you 3 sets of holes in case you're using a more narrow table, but I'll be able to use the widest setting. Next, I'm going to attach the laser. Please read the security statement in the user manual carefully. I read that earlier, so we're good. Now there's a dovetail ways on this assembly that the laser slides right into. We'll tighten up the thumb screws. And that's also how we'll raise the laser up and down to adjust the focus. Then we'll plug this into this distribution block that rides on the gantry. Then we'll plug this air hose into the laser unit, and that's for the air assist feature. Then we'll do a little cable management with the Velcro tabs that they provide. So that's basically it in terms of assembly. Really simple. Last couple of things, plug in the power, plug in the air assist unit to the main machine, and then the hose leading from the machine to the air assist unit. Now a couple of safety features to point out. There is a lockout on the unit. They do provide 2 keys in case you have little kids running around. There is a nice emergency stop button in case things don't go according to plan. And on the laser itself, it has lights for airflow, fire detection, and if the lens needs cleaning. And another important safety feature, if the machine tilts during operation, it'll automatically turn off. Now to run the Falcon 2 or any laser engraver, you're going to need software, and the main player in the field, at least on the hobbyist side, is a program called Lightburn. It's only $60, it's a one-time fee, and it will handle everything that this laser engraver can do. Now in addition to the $60 for the software, I did have to spend a little bit more money because my only computer in the house is a desktop upstairs in the office. And I wasn't going to haul that down here every time I wanted to engrave something. So I went on eBay, and for $150 from an authorized reseller, I got an old Dell notebook, which handled the install of the software no problem. And sure enough, when everything was connected, everything worked together beautifully. Now to operate a laser on a wooden bench without any protection would be pretty foolish. So thankfully they did send me this kit, which consists of an aluminum plate and this honeycomb unit. And this slides right under. So your work will sit on top of this. Good thing about it, it's also magnetic. So if you have something light like cardstock or leather, you could use magnets to hold it down. Now this is an accessory that I really think is a must-have. I don't see how you can get around not having it. Now they do sell different sizes. My advice would be get the biggest one that will fit under your work area. That way you don't have to fiddle with adjusting it, making sure that it's underneath the laser at all times. So before we actually cut something, let's really quickly go over a few key settings which will have a big impact on what the laser does to your material. The first is the distance of the laser to the material itself. That you'll control with the thumb screws on the side of the laser head, and they do include a setup block which you put on top of your material. Then you rest the bottom of the laser on it, tighten up your thumb screws, and the setting will be just right. Now the second key setting is the speed at which the laser moves along its path. Obviously if the laser is moving slower, it's in contact with the material longer, and it's going to give you a more aggressive cut or engraving. And the third setting I want to talk about is the power setting of the laser. You could set it from a fraction of a percent all the way up to 100. And obviously, if it's set at 100%, it's going to be a lot more aggressive than if it was set at 10 or 20%. Now, Creality does include a list of recommended parameters for engraving and cutting different materials. But what I'm going to do is make some test panels out of the materials that I plan on using most frequently with this machine. There's a tool right in Lightburn that helps you set up test panels, but I found a great free file on the web that populates all the fields for you, and it'll get us going that much quicker. So I opened up the engraved test file in Lightburn. It's all ready to go. Along the x-axis, we have the power percentage of the laser, and on the y-axis, the speed in millimeters per minute. So when this is done engraving, we'll have a nice grid of squares, each one engraved at a different speed and a different power level. Then we could refer to it in the future when we do an engraving job on this particular material. Now, as you can see, we got a lot of colors going on here. That's because each color is assigned to a layer, and a layer contains all the parameters that we're going to perform on that object. Now, those parameters include the speed of the laser, its power setting, whether we want the air assist on or off during the process, and also whether we're doing a line or a fill. If we're doing an engraving, we're going to have it set for fill because it's going to fill in the interior of a selected object. And if we did a line, it would just trace around the perimeter of that object. Now, of course, there's a lot more to Lightburn than what I went over, but I found in a short afternoon of looking stuff up on the web and YouTube, that was a fantastic resource. I was able to get enough information to get up and running and get a pretty good general understanding of how the software works. All right, let's put this thing to work. I have the rear door and the garage door both open. I have a fan that's blowing across the surface of the unit that's going to push the air towards the garage door. And by the garage door, I have a big air mover to get that air out of the shop. It is going to produce smoke. It is going to produce fumes. We don't want to breathe it in. In fact, while it's going, I'm going to stand just outside where I'll be in the fresh air, but could still keep an eye on what's going on over here. Now, before I hit the start button to run the project, I'm going to hit the frame button to make sure we're lined up correctly under the laser. All right, looks good. Let's go. All right, we have our first engraving test panel and success. Nice, crisp, clean text, and it gives us a nice overview of both how light and dark we can make an engraving and also how shallow and how deep. For example, the shallowest is 0.1 millimeters and the deepest is 1.2. This is going to be nice to have around the next time we do an engraving on maple. So I'm going to run this on some other materials, walnut, cherry, MDF, and plywood. But what I'm really interested in is how well does this thing cut. So I'm going to run a similar test, but this time it's a cut test. And let's see how this thing churns it out. Okay, the cut test file is opened. It's going to cut out these star shapes. It's set the mode to line as opposed to fill because we're cutting and not engraving. The speed has been generally dialed back and the power jacked up, and the air assist has been turned on. Good rule of thumb, you want the air assist turned on when you're cutting because it's going to give you a cleaner cut, less scorching, and you want the air turned off when you're engraving because the air can blow contaminants onto the area that you just engraved, and it can make it look a little cloudy or hazy. So I went ahead and made cut test panels for all the different species and sheet goods, the ones I use most frequently in my shop. So in the future, when I have a project where I want to do a cut or an engraving, I could refer to them and know just the settings that I need to get the result that I want. And now let's have some fun with this thing. I'm going to do a few projects first, more on the crafty side of things. Then after that, I want to try out a couple of projects, things that will hopefully assist me in the future when I'm making furniture or boxes out of hardwood. For our first project, and because I'm a narcissist, let's try cutting out our logo, make a nice little sign out of it. I have my logo up on the screen, and because it's an SVG file, I can separate it into its component parts. I'm going to cut it out 3 times. I'm going to selectively cut out certain parts with each go, and then when we stack them on top of each other, hopefully we'll get a cool 3D effect. And let's see how we did. We have the bottom layer, the middle, and the third and last layer. I love it. That's awesome. What was once an average run-of-the-mill porcupine theme logo is now an awesome sign. Maybe one day I'll paint the different layers to match the full color logo, but that came out really great. All right, what's next? Now, someone turned me on to this really neat website, makercase.com. You can design a box right on your screen, put in your dimensions, the amount of finger joints you want, download it, open it up in Lightburn, and cut it out on the laser. And best part about it, it's free. There is a donate button, so throw the guy a couple of bucks. I'm just doing a really quick dry fit, see what's going on. Woodworking. I'm just busting balls. It is actually a lot of fun being able to make a box just the right size and shape to organize stuff around the house or in the shop. Very cool. I'm also thinking last minute gift boxes for about $1. Make a nice box, throw something in it, engrave the person's name on it. They'd love it. So we're up to the technique I'm most excited about trying, inlay. I've done inlay before by hand. It's really slow going and has a pretty steep learning curve. So I'm really excited about the prospect of being able to do inlay quickly and easily and get nice, crisp, clean results. Now, just like a saw blade, even a laser has a kerf, so we have to adjust for that kerf when we cut out our letters. So when we drop the letters in, we get a nice tight fit without a lot of slop. I made that setting in Lightburn. I'm offsetting it by 0.2 millimeters. I got that by trial and error. So let's run some sample text and let's see how we do. I gave the walnut a quick sanding to get rid of any scorch marks. Now I'll just apply a little bit of glue and tap in the letters. I leveled everything with a hand plane and a card scraper, and it's perfect. I'm almost at a loss for words. It came out so good, so clean, and was so easy. I really think this is how I'll be using this piece of equipment most frequently in my shop, adding inlay. It's just so time consuming, and to be able to knock it out like that, fabulous. And if anyone out there happens to be named 123 ABC, I will sell you this decorative plaque at a very reasonable price. I'm going to quickly try a different method of filling in the engraving. Instead of a maple inlay, I'm going to try gold paint. So what I'm going to do is mask off the whole area, engrave through the tape into the wood, spray paint, peel off the tape, and we'll see what we get. So I did 2 coats of spray paint. Let's see how it turned out. I think one of the ways this is really going to help me save time in the shop is in making templates. Thumbing through this month's Fine Woodworking, there's at least 2 of the projects that require multiple templates. And you want your templates to be precise, because if your templates aren't precise, your end product isn't going to be precise. You could design your template in a few minutes, cut it out of 1/4" MDF, and be done. And the best part is, if you lose a template or it gets damaged, open up the file and cut another one. And I'm really looking forward to setting aside my branding iron. It was always a little bit stressful. You get everything all lined up, you press down, but if your pressure isn't perfectly even, you get a bad result. You got to stop everything, sand it back, and try again, hopefully with a better result. With this, load up your work, click, boom, done. So wrapping up my honest opinion, which is all Creality asked for, I really like the unit a lot. The fit, the finish, everything was spot on. The documentation, the videos on their website. It really made it easy for someone like me who has no experience with 3D printers, CNC, or lasers. No experience whatsoever, made it a piece of cake. I gotta tell you, I'm really looking forward to incorporating more inlay into special projects. Anyone can do beautiful inlay now. It's a game changer. Overused term, game changer, very befitting in this instance. Not to mention all the cool crafts and projects you could do with it. Get your kids involved, a lot of fun. I'll leave links to websites and resources that I mentioned during the course of the video in the description below. And until the next video, be well, take care.